Hello and welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about something kind of interesting, and that's Resident Evil 2 possibly having cut content. And I know you're like, what the hell, Resident Evil 2 having cut content? Wouldn't we have known about this a year later? Wouldn't somebody have data mined something? Are you talking about the extension to some of the environments, for example? If you guys remember when you were in the little Sherry segment, if you no clip out of the map, you can see like extra areas that you were supposed to go into. And no, we're not talking about that either. We're talking about a whole new game mode that should have been in the game and apparently just never made its way into release, and everybody actually forgot. Now, I have to thank somebody on my comment section for literally making me aware of this. Thank you so much, my dude. I did actually read the original interview, but I completely forgot that it even existed because it was kind of close to launch, you know, and then when the launch came out, you just kind of forgot that statement existed. But this MVP right here, he remembered that Capcom said this. He remembered Jun Takeuchi's words and all of the other executives and what they were saying, and Hibariyashi, or whatever the hell you pronounce his name as, and this guy's the MVP. But yeah, let's get into this anyway. Now, the actual statement, and I found the article by the way, and here is what it says. Remake 2 is a lot more replayable than Resident Evil 7. There is more reason to replay the game, and they mention there's a certain unlockable in Remake 2 they haven't announced. Something bigger than tofu and 4 survivor modes being in the game that will tremendously increase replay value, but they're not announcing it at this time. Now, first off, I want to address Resident Evil 2 having more replay value than Resident Evil 7 because of the fact of people will go, well, Remake 2, you know, it does kind of have the AB scenario still, etc. But I will say this, Resident Evil 7 also has a second scenario in which everything's kind of changed around. They also have other things like Ethan Must Die, Jack's Birthday Party, and other DLCs. But the biggest checkmate to this statement would be the fact that Capcom had already announced that there would be returning AB scenarios to the game. They just wouldn't include the zapping system. So, you know, this secret unlockable mode that they're not going to announce, that couldn't be the AB scenarios because they'd already said that they're coming. Actually, Resident Evil 7 has more DLCs than Resident Evil 2, or at least the same amount. I need to count that, but if I remember correctly, Resident Evil 7 does actually have more side content. Now, Resident Evil 2's extra modes, though the survival ones, definitely don't add all of this extra replay value. I think people played them once at most, kind of like the Marguerite Bedroom DLC or the Lucas Poker DLC in Resident Evil 7. I don't think people are sat there with 1,500 hours replaying those things. And Devil May Cry, for example, is a good game that does have replay value where people on my friends list literally have 100 to 200 hours in it, which is quite ridiculous. Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, well, Evil Lord, which is a modder that's known by the Resident Evil community, some people might notice him, he literally has something like 1,500 hours or something stupid in Resident Evil 4 alone. Like, that's replay value right there. So where exactly is all this extra replay value in Resident Evil 2? And it looks like this extra mode, and they didn't say modes, remember, mode, so that does kind of rule out the Resurvivor stories we got, because they just said mode. It never really made it into the game. It seems to have just been cut and everybody forgot about it. But then pops up Project Resistance, and Capcom does say originally, you know, it was an Outbreak developed game, but who knows if that's even true or just something they kind of said. I don't know, but it does look like even if that was true, it might have been the extra mode that might have made it to Resident Evil 2, and considering Project Resistance is coming out, and we've just had some achievement updates to Resident Evil 2's Steam database, if this DLC does come to Resident Evil 2, that would confirm that it was actually cut content that should have been in the base game. And even if it does come out as an independent project, I do hope people think about this. It's using Resident Evil 2's assets, It's based in Raccoon City at the time. It's canon as well, which was confirmed by Capcom. This all seems a little bit weird. Even if it was handed to a third-party studio, it's not exactly uncommon for Capcom to do that with their story elements, as they've done it with previous games many times actually. If people don't know, there's actually a few studios that they're well acquainted to that they outsource their development to for various different projects. But yeah, I just thought this was a curious find. I knew the Resident Evil community would be interested in it, and it's a long lost interview that, you know, everybody would have lost. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And anyway, just let me know your thoughts below as always, and I could really use some Patreon donations. Maybe if you've got like $200,000 lying around, that'd be greatly appreciated. That would help build the rocket ship we've been aiming for quite a few years now. We definitely need to beat that NASA program. Remember to give Chris White a huge shout out for remembering this interview, because it was in August 2018, and for him to remember this and provide this information to us is really amazing of him. I mean, basically I'm just kind of like leeching his content at this point and just providing the quote to the interview. So this guy, as I said, is the real MVP. I just hope you're having a beautiful day. As always, take it easy and peace.